Positional past and present time, that was mine. I spent blind in someone else's state of mind.
Yes.
I lost my way in all the shades of gray and graves of shade.
Shades of gray.
Shadows put away to
Hello,
be
everybody.
forgotten. I lost my way in
It's
all
Tuesday
the
night
shades of
on Thanksgiving week, but it feels like it's Wednesday night. Felt like Wednesday night last night as well. And I'm excited for tonight's show because we have a great guest up front in the form of Ashton Forbes, who's going to be, we've spoken with Ashton a couple of times. Really well-timed episodes as well. And for those of you who don't know, Ashton is the most recognizable name in the investigation of the disappearance of Malaysian Flight 370. Where the hell did it all go? It's one of those puzzling things where when you collect all of the information that is out there, nothing makes sense about it. And then, of course, came the video. At 2014, March 2014 video or so of what was allegedly depicted in the video is the flight that is being flanked by three swirling orbs, and it's being tailed, and there's something else going on there, and all of a sudden, boom, it's gone. Doesn't explode. It is just blinked out, wormhole style, teleportation. Hijack? High technology? Is it ours? Does it come from somewhere else? I don't know. But honestly, because of how mysterious the whole disappearance was, anything makes better sense than the official story. So now we got so much more that's going on out there, and Ashton has been really battling whatever kind of dissent there is on the subject. I don't know what the hell's left to be said about this stuff, but he says that there are some big updates, that he can now actually prove how the technology works. I know that he was going to be interviewing Salvatore Pais, the Pais effect that we read about, who's working to how displacement of the field around an object is really how the propulsion of these things in the sky are, how it all works. So, but I don't think that I think that got pushed back. So it doesn't matter. I would still like to ask him some questions, what he wants to figure out, how it coincides and perhaps overlaps with what he's dug up over the last year or so. Good amount of subscribership now too he has, and there's so much more than that. In the second half, I have leftover media from that last night that we did not get to talk about. Well, also would like to open up the lines and see what you guys are thinking about one thing or another, because we only had time for like 2 calls last night, and I'm looking forward to it. Tomorrow night, we've got a great guest as well. We've got one in the studio and one on the line with us. Jay Gullinello is hanging out for, I think, his 3rd Thanksgiving Eve in a row. And on the line, we have Matt Dawson. He is a endurance and adventure athlete. A lot to be said about this guy, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Really is. So we're going to be talking about him. You want to know who I still have to get? I put in so many requests to interview people like Joey Chestnut, competitive eaters. I got to try to get LA Beast on the show or something like that. I love LA Beast, especially when he throws up. It's just so hilarious to me. But he's different. He's so OG as far as YouTube goes. And but I want to talk to a competitive eater, especially like a Joey Chestnut, who's on those Nathan's hot dog eating contests on 4th of July, because they eat so much more than just hot dogs. There's like hard-boiled eggs. There's mutton. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. And I want to know about the ins and outs of actually how do you manage that? Because you have to keep expanding you have to eat. So I want to know, do you eventually throw it up? Once it's all done, the competition's over. Okay, go throw up now. Like, I want to know all about that. I have to find myself a competitive eater. I've come up with nothing. and years of searching. All right, so that's what we have. Thank you so much for hanging out tonight. That's all I got to say. There are a few things, though, on top of that, like Book Club 2025. Now, I got to announce what our first our first film club of 2025, this is all for sponsors, of course, is going to be. That'll be in February. But right now, this is how I have the year lining up. And I think the complete list will be in I hope, because I don't have an August pick right now. And the short stories, they usually pop up along the way. So right now, what I can tell you about Book Club 2025, January, we're reading Fahrenheit 451, Ray Bradbury. I love Ray Bradbury's writing so much, and we read Dandelion Wine last June together, and now I'm just like, okay, let's go back to like the most well-known one he has, even though we did an off the beaten path one. Now we're going to Fahrenheit. In March, we're going to be doing The Big Fisherman, which is the sequel to The Robe by Lloyd C. Douglas. And then I think in June, we're going to be doing The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. I've never read The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. I wanted to do some Mark Twain this summer. Mark Twain, the summertime, it seems quintessential America. So I wanted to do that. It's going to be fun. So those are the three that you can start with. But hopefully I have a full list for you, or at least an August pick by the time that we publish the bulletin on Monday. This Monday, December 2nd. Can I stress again that this is going to be public? I'm going to be tweeting this out. I hope everybody gets to go check this out and enjoy, how this bulletin is put together and the effort that's put into it. And I really, Chris Ann Hall just submitted something incredible today, which actually looks like it's going to be a part 1 of 2, and part 2 will come on the January edition. It's so good. I wrote a little something. There's a lot happening in this one, and I hope you enjoy. There's a piece on my father in there too. So look out for that. It's going to be hard to miss because I'm going to be putting it everywhere, sharing it and resharing it. All right, into the grab bag we go as we get ready for tonight's episode with Ashton Forbes. First one up is from Just the News. I thought this was interesting, and I'll show it to you in a moment. There you go. Utah and other Western states ask the Supreme Court to return millions of acres of land back to the states. All of it. All of it. A map of the U.S. showing land under federal control paints large swaths of the West. In August, Utah filed a lawsuit against the federal government, arguing that it's unconstitutional for the feds to retain unappropriated lands in the state indefinitely. It is 100% illegal. Since the lawsuit was filed, a dozen other states, including Idaho, Alaska, and Wyoming, have filed briefs asking the court to hear the case. Additionally, a coalition of counties in Arizona and New Mexico, the Pacific Legal Foundation, the Utah legislature, and the Wyoming legislature have also filed briefs in support of the lawsuit. The federal burden in the West infringes on our sovereignty and undermines our equality with other states in all direct violation of the Constitution. Absolutely. How many times have I brought it up on this show? I said, take a look at the map of federally owned... Hold on. Map of U.S. federal land. Let's see. Here we go. Open image in new tab. Oh, that's a horrible image. Hold on a second. Here we are. Here we are. Look at that. Especially west of the Mississippi. What is Nevada? If you live in Nevada, where do you live? Is it even a state? Look at all that. That is illegal. Absolutely ridiculous. Now, when you bring this up to people, you say, you know that the only land that the feds have any right staking claim to is the couple of miles of square patch of swamp in D.C. And then there's also holding territories in trust until these lands are organized into states, and then you're gone. And everybody out, especially so-called conservatives, are just like, yes, but the the federal government needs to protect these lands, or else the corporations are going to like. Your state government is completely capable, and there's actually more reason for it, especially if you live in Nevada and you want to preserve some natural plot of land, a forest in Idaho, whatever the hell it is. You have more reason to want to preserve that land than anybody else, and your state government can mark it off as state park instead of federal park. They have to go. Look at this. This is a ridiculous map. It's got to go. What is Alaska? Is Alaska even a state? So, just saying. I was really happy when I saw this because we've been talking about this for a long time. Unappropriated lands. According to the Stand for Our Land website set up at the state of Utah to explain the lawsuit, the Bureau of Land Management restricts public use of federal lands, and these restrictions don't help Utah efficiently and effectively manage its lands. The lawsuit only applies to unappropriated lands, which are those the federal government holds without any clear congressional designation. As a result, the lawsuit won't impact national parks, forests. It was illegal. I know everybody loves Teddy Roosevelt for establishing the national parks. It wasn't legal. And so I'm saying he was the first, he was a progressive. The Republican Party was the first real progressive centralized central planning party. So I know some things just feel better than other initiatives, but it doesn't make it any less helpful in going forward and setting precedent that should not be. So the only act of Congress that could be made here is a constitutional amendment, and that was not done. All right, let's see. CBS News. This story almost belongs in a Hallmark film. A family Christmas tree farm lost thousands of trees in Helene, but this one survived, and it went to the White House. The White House took it. Hurricane Helene wrought devastation on the Cartner's Christmas tree farm in Blue Ridge Mountains in North Carolina, where the Cartner family had been growing trees for more than 6 decades. The storm, which killed more than 100 people when it reached western North Carolina in late September, destroyed thousands of trees, but not all of them. First Lady Jill Biden on Monday unveiled one of the surviving trees, a 20-foot Fraser fir, as this year's White House Christmas tree. Quote, the Cartner family lost thousands of trees in the storm, but this one remained standing, the First Lady said on Monday, accompanied by grandson Beau Biden Jr., and they named it Tremendous, for the extraordinary hope that it represents. Of course, today, Joe Biden, her husband, the so-called president, is begging Congress to send one last $24 billion trunk full of cash to Ukraine. But it's okay. They very symbolically snatched up the last standing Christmas tree in the path of the destruction and plopped it in front of the White House. Members of the North Carolina National Guard who worked on the hurricane recovery efforts were welcomed to the White House Monday along with their families. The Fraser fir will be displayed at the White House Blue Room, where hundreds of holiday visitors to the White House will have a chance to see it during Mr. Biden's final holiday season in office. Let's just hope that we all get through it. Seriously. And we'll get to that reason in just a little bit, because all eyes on Ukraine. This is very, very serious. It's been serious for a while, but we knew that there was some sort of a holding pattern, and the election was going to be the great gate that we had to pass through. And depending on who won, we are going to then be able to speculate as to how this whole thing was going to be wrapped up or rolled into some other kind of operation. And now it's obvious to me that there is something very, very wrong going on here, and they really want to go out with some sort of a bang. I do want to say this real quick. I want to congratulate Rich Barris. Take a look at this. Poll Watch. Enough data is in to offer our top pollster ranking for 2024 national popular vote. Our standard is proximity to Trump, plus 1.6% winning margin. Okay. Trump at 49.85% to Harris's 48.27% as of November 26th. Note, we use how pollsters did in the multi-candidate, not the head-to-head, and those within 1% of the winning margin. Number one, our man, Rich Barris. Big data poll. Trump, 1.7%, off by only 0.1%. Wall Street Journal, off by 0.4. Atlas Intel, 0.5. Activote, off by 0.6. New York Times, 0.6. Rasmussen, 0.8. Qantas, 0.8. SoCal, 0.9. I don't know where Kyle Silver is. Where's all that? Several other pollsters were within 1.5 and 2%, which is quite good. So I don't know. Obviously, that's a great, great thing for Rich. And big data poll, little feather in his cap for sure. Okay, let's get this one started. We'll have Ashton Forbes joining us in just a few minutes, so let's go. We'll be right back.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's
People like Rich and Jay and Timothy Alberino and a few others over the last couple of weeks. The whole idea of disclosure is a very, very important one, we think, in building a new culture going forward and knowing what we want to be, what we need to be permanently distrustful of, and that is the centralization of government, especially when it comes to things that are going on in tech science and technology and everything else, because it's not even just about sandbagging everybody with technology, but it's also used as a constant weapon, psychological warfare. And that's why I want to open up with tonight with our good buddy, Ashton Forbes, who comes back tonight. How the hell are you, Ashton?
Frank, how's it going, man? I'm doing great. It is a Tuesday night here. Thanksgiving's coming up. I've been having a good time. Case has been advancing a lot in the year in which we last spoke. So I'm excited to talk to you tonight.
You know what? Let's start there. Then we'll get into all the disclosure stuff. The
Sure.
last time you came on, I think it was to follow up on, oh man, what the hell was it? There were so many different types of things.
Was it Edward C. Lynn? I feel like that might have been something we were talking about.
Was that the military guy that you believe was the one who actually got the news out there?
Mm-hmm.
I think the last time you were on, you spoke about him. It was, well, I don't know. You were speculating. You might have been positive, but you weren't too sure. You have gone to a different level with your positivity now?
In terms of Edward C. Lynn, I've always been about like 99.9% sure he's the guy. You could never even imagine looking at his case that you would find someone that checks every single box that you need for a U.S. military leaker of some videos that, show some technology or UFOs on them in super high quality. So from that perspective, I've always been extremely confident that it's him. I've talked to his lawyers. I called them up again, and they told me they couldn't talk to me about anything related to anything at all related to his case at all without his release. And I haven't been able to get in contact with him. I've tried a couple times, but I think that everything's lining up towards these videos are real. Edward Snowden's the leaker, and then in the meantime, I've just been pushing the science and digging into the science of it. And it's almost to the point where I think I can piece it down, break it down like year by year in terms of how this technology has been getting developed. And then the beauty of a lot of this is that even though I've done this research for the last year, looking into the science, the missing plane, everything, End of the day, I'm not going to be the guy that's going to tell you, hey, we got this from the aliens, or it's angels and demons that are, coming in from the other dimension or what have you. I really don't know. I don't know. All I know is that some humans on this earth have this technology in this video right here, and we are using it to apparently zap an airliner in 2012.
Well, let me ask you this: what is
14, sorry.
Yeah, 2014, and I think that's the thing that really gets me too is the detail from so long ago. If it was consumer grade, it was I don't know where the hell anybody had the resources for this. And
look at this video. Sorry, over this. Look at right here. There's a new detail that was just discovered. See when that plane goes off the screen like that?
Yeah,
it comes back in and it's zoomed in, and you can actually see this dark trail in front of the orb right before the plane shows up again. The camera operator must be able to see the nose of that plane on the right side of the screen where we can't see. This must be cropped. Like, it's wider field of view than what we're seeing here on this drone footage. So both videos are actually cropped. And we can tell the other video is cropped because you can see this mouse cursor coming off the side of the screen. So it's like, why would anyone crop this, whether it's a hoax or real? The only explanation makes sense is it's a real video and someone was cropping it because they're removing like the HUD data and other information that would be damaging to United States capabilities.
Well, when you first came on to talk about how the skies were being surveilled, and I forget a lot about the actual system there. The thing is that it's almost not as crazy as trying to be able to monitor the entire night sky where you're looking out into the cosmos. But even if you're from that kind of vantage point coming down to Earth, with this, you would still need to have some sort of, I mean, think about how so much of the ocean was scanned to just try to find some debris from this thing. And it took so long. And it's such a long shot because there's so much ocean. To think about having the cameras set up in just the right spot, it makes me think that you'd have to have some kind of an understanding that there was going to be something that happened there. And I think that's also, you said there's a plane coming in. We know the trajectory. We know what's going to happen. This is the operation we're running. And I guess for some of your dissenters, they would also say that this is part of the reason why you can say that it's all fake, because how the hell can you just happen to catch it? Or it'd be so easy of an alibi and to just put it out there. So what have you gotten as far as why this patch of sky was being monitored so closely that this was, I mean, we get every detail of this disappearance right here on the video.
Yeah, the biggest update that I've probably had, maybe even since the beginning of the case, was just happened like a week or two ago. And somebody had replied on one of my live streams saying that they had worked on the SBIRS system, space-based infrared system. The one I'm saying, this is what we're recording this software and on this satellite video, on the alternative angle video. And so I got in touch with them. I talked to them. I vetted their information in a lot more detail than just their YouTube post. And they seem to be legit. They actually worked on the development of the space-based infrared system as a network engineer, the people that manage the data downloads and uploads, that these satellites really are communicating with one another and with the relay satellites as well. So they beam this information to ground-based computers. And I think some of the biggest takeaways were they were 100% sure what we were looking at that satellite video is the SBIRS system, just based on like their knowledge that was didn't have a security clearance to begin with, and they could speak about some of that information just from their knowledge of how the systems operate and connect. They were able to say with absolute certainty. And then they did have a security clearance later on, which they couldn't talk about, but which had more satellite information that they learned as well. But the thing is that they said in the beginning, we only had, like in the late 90s, the constellation would have like, I think 12 or 14 satellites originally, which wasn't very many. And they speculated that, by 2014, which is 15 years later, that there was probably hundreds. So for the people that want to understand the surveillance capabilities, we absolutely have the whole planet covered. This idea that back then they also told me that there was probably like hot spots. Like we had most of the like Russia and China and the Indian Ocean covered before, but now we just have, 100% global coverage of the whole planet. It's naive to think that we didn't, even in 2014. So what happened with this plane? It's not just a random drone flying around recording a Boeing 777 at low altitude. There's in my opinion, only two plausible explanations. Either this was a rescue attempt of a burning 777, Boeing 777 that was, doomed and attempting to ditch into the water. That's what we're looking at here in this drone video, is that this plane's flying low and it's descending, and it looks like it's spiraling down to land into the water. The alternative is that this is just an operation to begin with. I mean, when people ask, like, why are they filming them? The obvious answer should be that this was a military operation. This is military cameras filming it. That's a military drone super close to the plane. They're getting like this crazy good intelligence, like zooming directly in on it right before the plane zaps. They zoom out. Someone manually controlling the camera there. Like, they're filming in thermal at nighttime in a night operation. And then the satellite, the way it works nowadays, we have so many low Earth orbit satellites that most likely we just have continuous vision. Like, once one satellite gets out of range, the next one picks up, and then they're just beaming this data. And so you basically can recreate in low Earth orbit capabilities a reproduction of anything that you're looking at. But you would probably want to plan the operation for when you would have the best resolution coverage for your satellites being there.
Yeah, when you say rescue, I say, okay, well, if it was really just hey, these people are going down and we have some technology we want to test, and let's save some lives, boys. Where the hell is everybody? It's just like,
problem, right?
Congratulations.
You can't exactly say, hey, we rescued you with some teleportation either. Right. So it's you get kind of a sticky situation.
We rescued you. Now you have to stay on this island forever and don't tell anybody. So, but then the other thing there too is, when the plane is starting to get flanked by these three orbs, what have you done to be able to? And of course, if this is the only thing you can go off of, where has this led you in your research to try to figure out what kind of technology is being employed here, and what the basis of it may be? Because there's so many theories, and obviously I know that you were going to be able to talk to Salvatore Paez.
Yeah, I got rescheduled. I'm sorry. I was hoping we would be able to talk about it after, but it's fine because I can kind of tell you what this all boils down to. I've got a very good idea, and then people can watch my interview with Salvatore Paez. I always say his name wrong. Next Sunday, where I'm going to ask live questions, because everybody out there is wondering what is going on with UFO disclosure. Like, what is the story? We're hearing there's 57 versions of ETs. We're hearing that they're interdimensional, spirit beings. We've been hearing that they're future humans, that they are, underwater, undersea creatures or whatever. There's so many different options that people have out there. I'm not going to tell you which of those things is necessarily true, but what I am going to tell you is that if anything is visiting us, if anyone has advanced technology that's out there, it's based on this concept of 0-point energy. So Max Planck in 1912 came up with this idea of quantum mechanics. And from 1912 to 1927, quantum mechanics, the idea of it starts to build up. Heisenberg in 1927 comes out with Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. Then quantum mechanics becomes a thing. All of these original physicists believed that there was an ether of energy that was out there, and that all electromagnetic waves, all waves, require a medium, and that the distance between atoms or distance out there in space is not really fully empty. It's not an empty vacuum. And this concept is pivotal to understanding how any advanced civilization, regardless of what that answer is for where they're coming from, what type of energy sources they are using. This concept of 0-point energy, and that energy being something that can be extracted, this is what essentially is being covered up and hidden, is that there is an unlimited energy source that's better than wind power and solar power, because it is natural energy source that don't require the sun to be shining, doesn't require the wind to be flowing. You can extract it anywhere, and its supply is completely unlimited. This is the foundation for various forms of technology that can be built to provide free energy for the world. Free energy meaning that the supply is unlimited, but it can also produce propulsion technologies where we can achieve faster than light relativistic travel. And I say that because it's not you moving at the speed of light. You're on a conveyor belt, and the conveyor belt is moving faster than the speed of light. So you're not going to feel the inertial forces. And that's what we're seeing right here in this video is we're seeing negative energy, a black endothermic event that we see here, a wormhole, literally just moving this plane, this energy from one location to the next. Just like if you were to put your hand in a fishbowl and pull out a bunch of water with a fish in it and move it somewhere else, you wouldn't say the fish is moving. You would say that you would just picked it up and moved it.
Yeah, I get that, absolutely, that concept. What I would want to ask you about is, because we're talking about some kind of alternative energy source. Of course, when you talk about the Pais effect, we're talking about the basis of what propulsion is like, what is really at the base of these anti-gravitic craft that people are watching in the air for so many years now, that are doing these physics-defying maneuvers where they can stop on a dime or make a hard right angle turn or a complete U, at high speed. So like, what is this? How you doing this? If there's any biological anything inside of there, they're going to be minced meat if they're really just playing by the only laws of physics that we know. So I'd love to talk about that a little bit, because as I'm observing these orbs, as they come to meet with the plane and they start their spiral, to obviously there's other laws that are at play here. It's not just regular jet propulsion or anything like that, but they also have a black spiraling contrail to it. So what have you at least theorized that could be? Because if it's the kind of technology I've been reading about, I can't imagine that it's exhaust.
Yeah, no, it's not. And at this point, I'm confident enough to say I feel 100% sure I know exactly what's going on with these videos now. Because, again, now we understand this concept of the ether, of this energy that's out there, that we can extract that energy. What we're looking at here is an exotic vacuum object. That's EVO for short. This is plasma. It's a ball of plasma that we're seeing. There's probably a small device inside of there, and it's able to produce a standing wave with a non-radiating barrier. So you're looking at something that would be like a magnetic monopole. So imagine instead of a bar magnet, you're looking at a magnet that just shoots outward or just shoots inward in this case. So if it's just shooting inward, then you create actually a bubble with this plasma. And the inside doesn't escape onto the outside, and the outside doesn't escape into the inside here. So when we're seeing these balls of light, what we're really seeing, if I were to really boil it down in layman's terms, is they're producing an extremely tiny black hole at the center of really free space anywhere. They can rip the electrons directly out of the elements, even just in the atmosphere, and they can then turn that into a plasma that surrounds your object. The plasma stays within the magnetically confined bubble, magnetically confined fusion reaction, like Salvatore Pais's patent. And what this requires is extremely high electromagnetic energy densities, which are naturally occurring in these EVOs. Salvatore Pais's effect is this extremely high energy densities and be able to produce it. If you go back and watch the interviews he did with me and with others, he constantly says, think in terms of plasma, cold plasmas, non-equilibrium, non-thermal plasmas, quite literally cold, as in it's not boiling hot like the sun. He's giving away the game. The secret is hot fusion. All these fusion reactors they're doing, they're all a scam. They're all just 100% waste of money. Instead of just trying to turn the temperature up and making fusion happen that way, what we should have been doing is creating bubbles of magnetic confinement where the particles are naturally coming together. So just real quick, I'll list off some people. Bostic was one of the first people who looked into these EVOs. Ken Shoulders picked up his work, and Ken Shoulders had worked with Hal Puthoff, who's the godfather of UFOlogy and some of this metric engineering of space-time. They were actually partners. Ken Shoulders then figured out these exotic vacuum objects, these balls of plasma. You would think it should just dissipate, right? Like you can't, unless you're giving it energy, how is it staying there? And this is the secret of the plasmas, is that it becomes self-sustaining and self-organizing, and it organizes into a sphere. And then it also, because you're producing this black hole, you get the dynamic Casimir effect where light, photons, just get pulled straight out of the ether. So it makes it glowing. Like you would just see it glow. So this is why we're seeing these balls of light floating around. So it went, just to repeat real quick, it went from Bostic to Ken's shoulders, and then Nachamkin, who is an Air Force research laboratory person, wrote field-free time harmonic plasmoids, and basically took Ken's shoulders work and advanced it. And then in 2004, it was Eric Davis that wrote about ball lightning physics study, and then he mentions Nachamkin's work as well. And so you can start to see there's this timeline going from the 80s to the early 2000s where the Air Force was taking it very seriously and they were advancing this. And then you get Salvatore Pais, 2016, high energy electromagnetic field generator and his magnetically confined fusion patents. And you start to realize, oh, wow, the Navy has been working on this. They figured it out. I don't know if they figured it out from watching some other orbs of alien orbs or TR3Bs or whatever the people say. I just know they've figured it out. And then once they figured out one orb can just float around, and the math says that it can basically have unlimited energy density, unlimited.
So then these are remote controlled. These are not, these orbs. They're remote controlled. They're not piloted.
Precisely, remote controlled. That's why we've got drones flying around. I would even question whether or not what Elon's doing all this, like landing these, rockets, like that same kind of vectoring technology that's like AI managing that would be the same thing you would be using for like the orbs spinning around. And for how you communicate with it, normal radio frequencies can't penetrate plasma. Well, Hal Puthoff, the guy that was partners with Ken Shoulders, his patent that's out there that's been approved 5 different times literally says in the very first paragraph that it is for communicating through plasmas. So you realize, oh, well, the guy that was the partner of the guy that figured these exotic vacuum objects out literally developed a quantum communication mechanism that can penetrate plasma. Well, now you can turn it into a plasma into a drone and you can have it float around. And then the last thing that they figured out, and this is the part I can't find at the moment much corroborating evidence for, is that at some point somebody figured out you take 3 of them in a triangle formation and then you have them converge on each other. And what this does is it creates a very strong Coulomb repulsion, which is where you like take 2 magnets and try to jam them together. And, if they're the same polarity, they will have a bounce out effect. And then the Casimir effect would be that if you push out all of the 0-point energy from a region, you're going to have this attractive force. So the Coulomb repulsion would say, okay, your triangle's coming together. I'm going to try to repel. And then the Casimir effect, if you're making like a Casimir bubble, for example, is going to try to push together. So you have these counteracting forces, one that's pushing outward and one that's pulling inward. And where they balance out, you could argue that's your throat of your wormhole, where that creates the bubble in which whatever's going through that is going to appear somewhere else. And if you read these scientific papers, you will see this concept of Coulomb repulsion versus Casimir attraction mentioned many times through them.
Now, with whatever has been made public over the years, and a lot of it is just, there's a lot of infighting about what is real and what's all conspiracy theory, as people love to say it. But the Philadelphia experiment, very, very, it seems like we would be talking foundational work for teleportation, this, that, the other. Of course, those were seafaring vehicles and all that stuff and ships. But now we're talking about the air and something a lot more advanced. Have you ever spent time or found anything that links back to that you think is helpful, at least for forming a chronology of the research and development end of this?
Yeah, once you start looking into teleportation, that's like the first thing that comes up is Philadelphia experiment. And it's like all the top scientists in the world that you've ever heard of were connected to it. I don't know by how much depth. I think Tesla didn't want to work on it. Einstein was working on it, supposedly. Thomas Townsend Brown, who you could argue is kind of first discovered electrogravitics, that gravity is really just an induced effect based on electromagnetism and the 0-point energy around us. You have all the right people connected to it. At the same time, it's like my personal opinion, and this is just kind of mythos because we don't really know exactly what happened there, is that we were trying to cloak a battle cruiser And instead, the story goes we teleported it, or we changed the rate of time on the battle cruiser that had these large degaussers. I would argue we didn't realize the connection between squeezing out electromagnetic modes and time dilation and, in this sense, teleportation. And then we learned during the Philadelphia experiment that that was the case. And what I'm getting at is that if you make these, if you're trying to cloak something, you're trying to block, you're making a bubble where you block all the electromagnetic fields around it. But funny enough, the actual science for how you would manipulate gravity has to do with pulling all the 0 point energy out of a region, pulling that energy out, creating a bubble there. And so just looking at the science, it matches up to this idea that, they didn't realize what they were really doing when they were cloaking is they were pushing out all the 0 point energy out there, and they created a negative energy event, which was, basically like a little wormhole. Or they didn't even have to go that far. It's just changing the rate of time could have made it where now that ship is moving at, warp speeds, but everybody else is, slow-mo or what have you. So
Yeah.
yeah, very interesting case.
It is. It is. And it also makes me think about something else there too, and that is to be able to create the technology to plug into and harness what might be going on around us in nature, the ether, and then nature itself. For example, especially in the 90s, I feel like every other Discovery Channel documentary was on the Bermuda Triangle. I don't hear too much about the Bermuda Triangle anymore. But there's so many people out there who have published things and have talked about energetic ley lines on the Earth and how there is an unseen network of pretty much an energetic superhighway that if when something's opening and when something is closing, you can walk into a little patch of forest and pop out on the other side of China, and that there are things like this that is just naturally baked into our existence over here. Have you looked into phenomena like the Bermuda Triangle? Because first of all, I see these orbs come into the to Flight 370, and the last thing you see before they go away is the perfectly formed triangle.
Yeah.
I know that is just symbolic because we're talking about a patch of ocean where there's a lot of disappearances and stuff, not an actual triangle. But did things like this play some kind of a role, or is there something to be studied about this?
Well, I mean, I don't know how you could obviously just speculative. I always thought Bermuda Triangle is really interesting. If we're looking at some technology that is either of alien origin or, of some other advanced civilization, something like that, or if this technology, one thing I noticed about this technology is that they mentioned that these EVOs are actually very simple to form. It's almost like, okay, well, once I figured out how fire works, now I can actually make fire with a little lighter. I don't have to be rubbing sticks together anymore. I think that that's going to happen. I think there's a very real possibility that these EVOs, these self-organizing plasmas that have very high charge density, this could be like discovering fire for any civilization that's out there. So you could argue if there is some other non-human intelligence with us here, that they might have figured out this property. And once you figure out this triangle property where you can just jam these orbs together and then zap, you just rip a hole in space-time, it could possibly explain disappearances that occur, other disappearances. But, again, I'm speaking extremely tentatively on this. It really depends. We don't really know exactly what's going on with that. But I do think that these plasmas, too, that they could be they can probably be set up in different forms to do different functions. So, if you just want to, warp drive like we see with the orbs with that dark line in front of them, like this is like you have your beam, what that is just a laser that is pushing out the 0 point energy modes in front of it. The same way where the Casimir effect works. And so it's like scooping out all the energy in front of you, and then now your orb just follows that path. And then when you see the event happen, they're all basically lining up their lasers towards the center, their 0 point energy laser, and then they converge together, and then Coulomb's law kicks in until it hits that critical electromagnetic energy that Salvatore Pais talks about. And there is a limit. Like there's actually a roof, there's a ceiling on the reality of space-time. It's not a situation where you can just keep pulling. You get to a level where you pull out so much energy that it actually creates we would think of as a black hole, but it's actually really it doesn't necessarily have that huge amount of gravitational force. It, is what we would think of as a wormhole. So once you hit that limit, boom. So I don't know. I leave that answer for where is that coming from and what does this mean for all these other different sightings and disappearances for other people to figure out. I'm really just focused on trying to figure out when exactly the United States government figure this out, and when are like China and Russia and these other countries going to figure it out, and what's that going to mean for us, and what does it mean for our civilization in general, that we have this extremely powerful technology that could be free energy. It could mean that we don't have to ever get on an airplane ever again. We can become interstellar, what have you.
That would be great. And talking to Pais, Mr. Pais, is going to be, I think, really good for you in maybe establishing a little bit more of a timeline. Because I read about him in Vice or somewhere else, or Wired magazine, something like that, early last year in 2023. And even though they were trying to say, oh, this is all inconclusive and it's just all theories and whatnot, in the same article, they say that the U.S. Navy has essentially accepted the premise of how the technology works. Now, I'm sure you're going to ask him something along these lines, but has he ever been able to take his calculations off paper, off a computer, and create some kind of a miniature version of what we're seeing in the skies that can just, bounce around the room with some sort of a, electromagnetic propulsion effect going on there without needing to charge a battery or, put a small combustion engine on it? That's what I would be interesting to hear about, because then you're going to be able to see, that's a big thing for establishing timelines. And what about you? Going into the new year with the new administration, I know right now that there is going to be several big shakeups, especially in HHS, that is going to open up huge opportunities for everyday people to file FOIA requests. And I'm talking, that's why when I say that this needs to be a presidency of disclosure, if we have any chance of building a lasting, society based on trust and really neuter the deep state for any foreseeable amount of time, everything needs to be exposed on health levels, high technology levels, the UFO stuff, the assassinations of past presidents. What would you do with some FOIA requests? I mean, have you ever done one before?
Oh man, I've done a lot of FOIAs and they always get rejected because of Obama. Thanks, Obama meme. But no, they usually get rejected for Executive Order 13526, 1C and 1D, to be kept secret in the interest of national defense, for reason of covert operation or foreign relations. If you can believe it, those are literally what I get rejected for almost every time. Sometimes they give me a different one that's like, the information in question, its existence is classified, therefore they can't, like give you any answers back. So yeah, I'm very familiar with it, but what I've learned is the government can basically reject anything if they really want. I mean, and what is the government hiding about this missing plane? It's actually getting absurd at this point. Like, they wouldn't even give me information on a Boeing 777 fire suppression device that washed up in the Maldives. And I'm like, okay, obviously at this point, there's something going on here. But I do have hope with the new administration. I mean, we really have to get this stuff out. I am also convinced they've been hiding free energy. They suppressed cold fusion because they just kind of cheated based on how they wanted to measure it. And it turns out that it's not going to be like hot fusion. It's gonna be even better than that. And we can actually just use magnetic fields to confine the plasma without these super high temperatures. And we need to change the world. I mean, the world is falling apart. We've never been more divided ever. So if we can have free energy, if we can have something to really believe in, to take that, we can actually get to other star systems. We can actually get to Star Trek. Maybe we can actually have a positive difference on this world. And to your question about Salvatore Pais, I absolutely am going to question about the timeline, because there's a gap between 2004 and then his patents in 2016. And in that gap, of 12 years is when the plane disappeared. What was the U.S. Navy doing when, after 20 years of EVO research and Air Force Research Lab papers explaining all this?
And
I think they
wasn't a
figured it
Tic Tac, wasn't the Nimitz 2004, 5 around there?
Yeah, and Nimitz was 2004, and I think there's a theory too that like maybe we were building flying saucers in the past, like actual crafts, but at some point we moved on to this plasma drone technology, and now that's why every time you see a ball of light out there, if that is a one of these things, then that's the reason why it's glowing like that, is that the nature of the physics involved causes photons to be pulled straight out of the ether, and this actually happens in the event horizon of black holes as well. But Salvatore Pais's patents, like you read those, like I've read all the articles about him. They will just quote random people that don't know crap about quantum mechanics or any of this stuff, and they'll claim, oh, it's pseudoscience, or it's jargon, doesn't make sense. No, I've read his patents. Salvatore Pais's work is 100% legit. They even had their like chief technical officer of the Naval Air Force or Air Research go out and say that it was operable, that they actually meaning they had developed at least one of like this. I think it was the superconductor patent that initially got rejected. And then even the lawyers, the Navy's lawyers, went after the patent office too, saying you can't reject this just because mainstream academia doesn't accept it. You have to have a factual basis for why you think the math doesn't work or whatever, because all the math checks out. So this was the biggest disinformation that was pushed. We're going to find out that all of Salvatore Pais's patents are 100% legit. And then imagine his psychological state of like, he knows this stuff's real, magical technology, plasma technology. If you add his stuff up, it's just like all his patents are plasma ball. And all the world's making fun of him and saying he's a crackpot, and people calling it pseudoscience. Like, this is why people don't come out and talk about it.
No,
it's so far beyond the paradigm for most people. It's like, why would I subject myself to the opinions of the sheep when you already know that it's real?
Especially if you know that it's going to get in the way of you ever being able to work again, to be able to get to be able to get meaningful grants from places that aren't going to, they're going to protect themselves, their own liability. And when you even get back to the FOIA stuff, to be rejected for reasons of national defense and all that, and they can't even really adequately respond because that in itself would be an admission that some of this technology exists. It's so ridiculous because we know that it's a well-known thing that everything is really created, or most things are created with dual use, as they say. There's a civilian application and then there's a military application. We have to assume that every satellite we put up there in orbit is providing us cable and also spying on somebody. And, you have to just assume that stuff. But the fact that these FOIAs and that you can't come anywhere close to this just goes to show that the military aspect of it all supersedes everything. Because like you have said before, even to open up today, this opens up the door to a whole new world. The way that we live our lives, the way that, how expensive everything is, how sustainable everything is, how much more that those of us who actually care about the environment from a rational conservationist, not a radical environmentalist, cap and trade kind of a way, but those who care about the earth and the future of it all, it'd be awesome to be able to just unlock this kind of potential. But of course, it obviously has a military interest first and foremost, and to hell with everybody being able to light their houses. It's really nuts. So, and that brings me to one of my last questions for tonight. How is it for you operating in these fields? Obviously, you have a lot of attention on you. You appear on some of the biggest shows on the internet, so you definitely keep up appearances. But high tech. There's a lot of people who have problems, get harassed by agencies, things like that. You ever, aside from internet trolls and dissent, ever encounter any kind of brush-ups with the government itself?
No, mostly just internet trolls, honestly. I try not to live afraid of any of this stuff. And I think that there's certain factions out there that wants this out. And maybe I'm doing them a favor because some of these people are just so wrapped up in NDAs, there's not much they can do or ever really say. And so it's like someone like me just coming on me like, nope, here you go. I figured it out. Here's all the papers. Here's all the stuff. Like, explains it all scientifically. It may help them out. So it's probably not as simple as just one faction, wants it out or they don't. So nah, for the most part, I've been fine about it, but you always worry about it in the back of your mind. If they want to take you out, these people have so much power that they could do anything they want. And then the bigger thing about this too is the propaganda aspect. The best part about the MH370 videos is how they expose everybody. They expose skeptics, they expose the UFO community that never talks about the energy sources. It exposes the media that won't talk about it. It exposes academia in terms of them not looking at these scientific papers that are out there. And just knowing that these videos are real and they are going to get verified in the future, I think at some point, it lets us see who are the people out there who are the legitimate ones who actually want to kind of talk about it. But the reason why they can never admit it, it's kind of like with COVID, the biggest thing they were worried about was their credibility of the government and what people thought of and believed the government and trusted the government. Now, if you come out and say we teleported an airliner, the technology side of that's one thing. But the thing that's going to break people is how they believed a completely fabricated story about the plane going in the South Indian Ocean and that they just trusted the media to tell them the truth. And it turns out that the government was just controlling the media and having them lie intentionally to millions of people. That's the reason why the government will probably never outright admit what we did to that plane. And that's the reason why they're rejecting all those FOIA requests, is that they're protecting their own self-interest, and they're protecting their justification is that we can't allow the government to lose credibility by admitting that this is real. Now, before people get all doom and gloom, what I will say is I have been talking to the AARO officer, the AARO, All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. The UFO community hates these people, which, maybe they have some good points in terms of why they do, but the AARO officer is going to make sure that this case is the MH370 videos are going to be part of the official record. They will have to include it in their stats and maybe even, do like they talked about some of those other cases, like last week or whatever. They may have to do that with MH370 videos. And they theoretically have the capability. I don't really trust them, but they have the capability to verify if that's like Sibber's video. Like I have this person who worked on it. They could potentially confirm that as well. So not all hope is lost yet.
Well, that's great. I guess the last thing I would ask you before we take off and we see what you have coming up next, and of course, I'd love to follow up even just in a short way after I watch your interview with Salvador Paez. I'm very interested in this, but maybe we've discussed this in a past appearance, but I don't remember the answer at this point. We're talking about a Malaysian flight. We're talking about the other side of the planet, and now over here, most of your work and, of course, our interest is in wondering what kind of disclosure and what kind of confirmation we're going to be getting from the American government. Why do you think? Why do you think we would be looking out for this plane? What was the interest of our government for a random, if there's anything random about it, plane in that part of the world instead of one that was passing over Alaska per se?
Yeah, and I think that China was trying to steal our technology. And if you have this technology, you can't let China have it. You can't let Russia have it. That would be one way you could justify an act on this plane. And if you look, China's been trying to steal our technology for decades, and they're pretty successful. They steal like $600 billion worth of intellectual property from American companies. So the 20 free-scale semiconductor engineers on board this plane, to me, they've got to be the motive. A lot of people probably seen that Dick Gregory video where he talks about these 4 patent holders. That whole patent holder thing is actually just complete fabrication. It's not real. But those engineers are definitely the motive. 20 of them, they were connected to U.S. aerospace and defense. NSA had done a security assessment about their superconductive microchips, and superconductivity is one of the ways that you can take quantum effects and have them on the macroscopic level, which is what we need for teleportation, for example. So you look at that, you go, okay, wait, these guys 8 of them were Chinese, actual Chinese nationals. They're flying to Beijing, but they're working for an American company. So the other last thing I'll say is that if you want to know where's the future of this technology, the answer is microchips. Microchips. Why? Because these effects are on the smallest scales. Like this ether of energy is on the smallest possible scales, the Planck scale. This is Salvatore Pais' super force. He's saying that at the smallest scales, this will give rises to all of the fundamental forces. So we want to scale things down. This is exactly what we're doing with microchips. So you've got a billion transistors on a microchip that's the size of a nail, a head of a pin. Like this is the future, and this is what it's going to be in the future when we have free energy. We're not going to be making magnetic motors, although you can do that. It's cool looking. But you're going to take a microchip and you're going to put it in your phone, and now your phone never runs out of energy. Never, ever again. That's the future. And you take the same concept and now you turn it into a gun where you shoot it and it shoots a gravity wave at somebody that shoots them through the wall, right? Like that's going to be where this is all going to. And so when you look now, and this is the last thing I'll leave you with, at the geopolitical landscape, look at the semiconductor trade war. Semiconductors is an overall term for all of these microchips, basically. And Russia and the United States and China are like in a battle for who's going to control it. So there you go. Yeah,
and of course the semiconductor industry was really under the microscope over here during Hurricane Helene, because all of a sudden we start hearing about these quartz deposits in North Carolina that are unlike anything in the world. It all became news to a lot of us, and they're like, no, this is not just about rare earth minerals that have been found in North Carolina. We're talking about the future economy is based on this one little area, and it's all about semiconductors as well. So I can see that, and that does sound familiar about the scientists on the plane. Definitely asked you that before. That makes perfect sense. Listen, you got to let us know how. I'll be on the lookout. I'll see whenever you release your interviews. But if you have anything interesting coming out soon, a published work or whatever, let everybody know where to find you. I've had your Twitter up on the screen most of the time, so hopefully you'll get a couple more subscribers there as well.
Yeah, I'm on all the social media platforms now: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and X, and I'm at JustXAshton on all of those. Still not selling anything, but maybe one day we'll make a book or a documentary about this. I think it's worthy of it. And like I said, guys, eventually the truth is going to come out. If you want to help, the best thing you can do is help push the question: what is the energy source for a flying saucer, for a UFO? What is the energy source? The reason why it's the best question is because the answer is 0 point energy. And once we understand that space is not empty and that there's energy out there that can be extracted, everything's going to change. The whole thing will unravel.
Ashton Forbes, another very compelling appearance. Thank you for the time, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
All right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go on a really quick break. You can go find Ashton on Twitter, X, and when we come back, I'm going to be taking your calls, whatever you want to talk about. And we also have some media over here and a little bit overseas with the war and all that. So don't go anywhere. The lines will be open. I want to hear from you because we couldn't get to a lot of you last night. Be right back.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out to press the like button. Thank you.
Quite frankly.
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 Quite frankly. Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly. Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly, guys.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
So everybody watch. Quite frankly. With Frank.
It doesn't really matter. Showed up today. He gave me this bodybuilder. I have the dead body of a bodybuilder turkey in my this bodybuilder is in my refrigerator right now. I said, what happened? I thought you said you had some smaller birds. He goes, I'm sorry, Frank. I got like 14 to 20 pounds here. I said, damn. I said, I don't mind it. I just wish people would eat it. So if anybody wants any turkey, I will be mailing it out. I'll send you a bone for your dogs. Whatever you want, you let me know, and I'll tell you what I have left over on Black Friday. Also, you might have seen a new addition over here. We are giving this little guy away on Friday. This is our Black Friday giveaway. So Lauren found this. I don't know where she found it. I don't know. Probably Michael's. Anyway, it's a nutcracker, but it's an Uncle Sam nutcracker. So it's Christmas and it is patriotic. And we're giving this one away on Friday. So I'm just going to tease you with it here until then. All right, let's get to your super chats. And the lines are open, 914-200-0269. Give me a buzz. I want to hear from you. Car Guys New England says, hi, Frank. 24-hour kosher salt marinade and melted butter injections before throwing it in the oven is the most amazing bird ever. Happy Thanksgiving, my friend. Yes. Well, we're going to have a lot of our salt in the brine, but as far as the injection, what did I find? I found a really easy recipe for like Italian dressing, but you kind of strain out all the herbs and stuff in it, so you just have the dressing. And we didn't get any. We just got the mix because everything else had canola oil in it. So Lauren's going to be able to make it with avocado oil. So we'll be able to make the Italian dressing with Chardonnay, and you mix that together and you pump it up. You pump that fucking thing. It's gonna be so great. In fact, I'll be filming a lot of it, so I'll put it out there. I'll put it out there for you guys. As far as the rub goes, I'll figure it out. Quite a few of you have sent rubs over the years. That's nice. Let's take a call from Julie. Julie, are you there? How you feeling?
It's Shake and Bake. What's going on?
Oh, what's going on, Shake and Bake? I'm so sorry I called you Julie.
Yeah, I know. That's when I called last time, you said that, and I thought I should get in touch with Verizon customer support and see if we can get that changed because I was on our plan for so many years. That's why. Yeah. So,
unfortunately, it'd be easy for me over here to just, as people call in for the first time, ask the caller who they are, and then change the listing over here on my end, like I can do with Skype back in the day. But that's still one of the things that Zoom has to change. Anyway, what's on your mind, Shake and Bake?
So I got two things regarding this 0 point energy that your guest talked about, and what you were talking about with Dilly last night about the income tax. Let's speculate that there is this 0 point energy that someone somewhere has figured out how to harness. I don't think people like you and me and members of this audience, I don't think we would ever get access to it because, all of a sudden you're providing the population with free energy. No one needs to pay for electric bills anymore. Well, that can't be. I'm trying to remember the name of that guest you had on last year. I think he died of throat cancer or something like that. And you were talking about Tesla energy, and Tesla was kneecapped or obstructed from being able to go forward with his ideas because it's well, how do we charge people for this? So that's my whole thing about providing energy is that, if someone figures out a way to access it, well, how are we going to charge people for this? We're not just going to give people free energy and let them be autonomous. That's not how human behavior, at least through my eyes, works.
Oh, you're 100% right on that, and that is still an episode I have yet to dig up a really good guest to talk about it with. When we think practically about moving ourselves away from oil or natural gas or anything like that, anything that makes up most of our costs, whether you own a home or whether you're renting. I mean, the power and all that stuff, utilities, it goes all into it. If suddenly we are, every household has a little self-sustaining cube that is not connected to anything and it's just drawing from the power of the earth or the ether or something like that, and all of your needs are met and you don't have to pay anybody, what the hell kind of a racket is that? It can't be. So whereas you're staring world-changing technology in the face, even if we're talking from a speculative angle, there still has to be some kind of practical conversation about what that transition would look like, because it would be the end of the world economy in changing the world, you would also end the economy. How do you have to phase it out somehow? How do you let all these you think these big businesses are going to go along with it? I mean, we were just talking about what banning big pharma television commercials would do for large portion of the corporate media, because they're like, some of these networks, 70% of their advertising income is from pharma companies. So you think about how you can collapse smaller parts of the economy by just putting a cap on what you can advertise on television. Think about what you can do if you're saying that we no longer need oil and natural gas right off the bat. And it's who's providing the service and how much are you paying? I would love to get into the practical questions.
Yeah, so that was like my whole thing. Is like he's talking about this fantastic energy source. I'm like, well, someone's going to want to make money somewhere, because there's a scene in Star Trek First Contact that I'm going to find and I'll put in the Gilded if you want to look at it, where they pick up this woman. They travel back into the past, and they end up bringing this Earth woman on board. And she's like, how much did the starship cost? And Captain Picard's like, well, there is no money in the future. The economics is very different. And I'm like, okay. So, but real quickly, going on when you asked Dilly about taxes last night, and he, whatever he knows about what can be done as far as executive fiat to eliminate the income tax, which Chris Ann Hall said when you had her on post-election, is that, well, to kind of eliminate the income tax that's a Congress sort of thing, which, Congress is, non-functioning as it is, obviously. But let's say if Donald Trump did somehow get the income tax, as far as we understand how it operates, revoked, I would not be surprised. Actually, I would expect it for states like New York, like Kathy Hochul, if that happened and it was rubber stamped that there was no direct income tax on the people of the United States, do not be surprised if the beaver bitch in Albany and her concubine of the state legislature raises taxes on us, because it's like, well, if the federal government's not going to take this 40% tax, well, we'll take it. So it's not really going to do anything. If I was an evil prick and I just was like, yeah, I'll take your money. Sure, the federal government doesn't want it. Absolutely, I'll take it. You out of your mind?
But here's the trickle down there. Now, you're 100% right. 100%. What's our state income tax rate over here in New York right now? 13%. What is it?
It's in the teens. Well, yeah. So
okay, well, I'll calculate this in a little bit. New York state income tax. Let's see. It ranges from 4 to 11%. So let's think about 11%. And if the the federal income tax is now gone away. Now, what Trump is saying here, and Shake and Bake, is that all you wanted to say?
Yeah, I just want to talk about the 0 Point Energy and the income tax thing that was talked about last night.
Okay, cool. Well, the 0 Point Energy, I would love to follow back up on with somebody else there too, because Ashton Forbes speaks very glowingly of it and in the affirmative, and I know at least a couple of people who think it's nonsense. So I'd like to just be able to balance that out and hear some different opinions on that alone. But thank you for those questions, and if you can send me the crux of them in email, that would be great, because then I would be able to just keep it in my notes, keep it in mind. But let's see here. In New York, if you make $100,000 a year, you'll be taxed $124. Okay, that's what they're saying over here in Nerd Wallet. I don't think so. Wait a second. 100,000. Well, dude, that's way more than 10%. Anyway, we're over 10%. What Donald Trump seems to be saying is that, yes, there's going to be massive cuts, but what if we can go back to funding everything, or at least things like it doesn't sound like he wants to get rid of Social Security or anything like that. He just seems to be floating the idea that this can all be done by rearranging our financial disposition. Our financial positions, I should say, in the world. Now, Some programs should go away right off the bat. Some should be sunsetted. But if we're going to keep some things around but just fund them through tariffs, then that wouldn't necessarily mean that you have to raise things in New York or anywhere else. They will. They will. New York would do that only because they know that people that they can literally suck the blood out of have more in their pockets. They would raise it. They'd find something to fund in state. They would suck more blood out of people, no doubt about it. But then they are in a strange position where if they want to continue to hemorrhage citizens to other states that are treating people well, like Tennessee or Florida, the Carolinas, or whatever, then that's on them. But no doubt about it, there will be, if what happens here, what they say they're going to do happens, there's going to be a lot of states that bump things up because they're going to have to start taking some responsibility themselves. And I'd love it. I'd absolutely love it. Jay Britt says, great show, Frank. Ashton reminds me of the John Paul Rice of tech. Love this shit. Well, I'm glad you liked it. I'm sure John Paul Rice will enjoy that as well. On Rumble, Jay Simo says, wow, what a great discussion. Anti-gravity, free energy, thanks. It's a wonderful pie in the sky kind of a thing. Man, doesn't that sound great? Like when Dilly was talking about all that stuff that he listens to, he's heard over the last year or so, I'm thinking to myself, oh, wow. In fact, here's a question right now from Cindy. Frank, did Dilly expand on what he couldn't say on air? Yes, a little bit. We spoke a little bit. And hey, if it happens, if all this happens, especially over the next year, we're all going to be watching it together. And if it happens, then I think we will all be in universal agreement that this will be the most amazing thing that we've seen in our lifetime. Maybe the last 2 lifetimes. Just as far as generational shakeups on a governmental level. Does that mean we're going to get everything we want? Well, but what may be proposed here and what may be attempted and what has been probably game planned over the course of the last 4 years, hopefully. A lot of time to game plan to know exactly what you're going to do, when you're going to do, based on the first 4 years of nonstop sabotage. Man, oh man. Man, oh man, it would be something else. And but again, there'd be no denying it. We'd all be seeing the same thing. It wouldn't be like some of you have the secret and some of you don't. We'd all be saying the same thing. Seeing it, I should say. All right, 321, you're on the air. Who's this?
Hi, Frank. It's Patrick.
Hi, Patrick. How are you?
Happy Thanksgiving. Deep fried turkey's amazing. I've had it before.
Yes, it is.
5 years ago, my cousin. Yeah, I think Ashton's on the front line of this great awakening right now as well. And there's so many aspects of this great awakening. But I just wanted to comment. I think, I don't know, you've talked about Tatario before, and Atlantis, Lemuria. I think we've already gone through this like 3 times. And whoever, I think we're like 500,000 years old. I mean, this galaxy, or at least this planet, and they've been here before us, and they're still here, and they probably seeded us. And there's good ones, there's bad ones. You want to go that way. And I think we're getting a lot of help from the good ones right now. And yeah, it's a trip.
Okay.
That's where I'm at with that. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, my friend.
So you're on the Anunnaki train.
Kinda, maybe we're seated, but yeah, of course, like somebody from space, I think.
Okay.
But listen, there's God behind them too, the real God, our Creator as well. And our souls we've been farmed and gatekeeped every time, and every time we're just about to get out, they just, almost like a third world war. It's going on now. That's not going to happen this time. That's where I'm at.
Okay, well, thank you for the call, Patrick. There's Patrick's 2 thoughts, 2 cents. Thank you, EO2 Dave and Porpoiseful and Doug Simmy and Squickly over on the pill, sending in those gold pills. Let's take another one. 904, you're on the air. Douglas?
This is Trevor.
Hello. Welcome to the show, Trevor.
Hey, Frank. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing all right.
Thank you. So I wanted to tell a quick story tonight that ties in with your guest that you had. I had an experience. I was camping with my dog up in the mountains in North Georgia, and I was right outside of Frank D. Merrill Army Base. It's where they do the Ranger mountain training.
Mm-hmm.
Army Ranger.
You're a civilian, or you're military?
I'm civilian.
Okay.
But I went to school near there when I was a teenager, and so I know the mountains up there. It's right on the Appalachian Trail, and so I used to go up there and camp out. And there's a little spot called Devil's Kitchen along the creek there, and I was camping out and saw. I woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, came out of the tent. I was by myself, just myself and my dog. Come out and I see 3 orbs of light floating in the trees, and I had no idea what they were. They're about the size. Each one was about the size of a basketball, light blue with they're glowing blue with a white core, and floating about 8 feet off the ground, and kind of moving in a strange pattern. I watched it for, I don't know, it could have been 10 seconds, could have been a minute. I was freaked out, got back in my tent, and laid down and was just waiting for the tent to light up blue. I didn't know what was going on, and woke up the next morning. No evidence in the morning of what I had seen, but I spent years after that. That was 2010, and I spent years trying to figure out what I had experienced. I kind of gone down the ET path with it.
3 basketball sized balls of blue light. Sounds a lot like how people describe, ball lightning as well. But the thing that the thing that is really interesting is the altitude. You're talking about 8 feet off the ground, so these things are moving through the trees in this patch of woods that you're camping out in.
Yes, I was within 50 feet of them, and they were moving in what seemed like a kind of intelligent pattern.
This sounds like the Rendlesham Forest incident in the UK. You ever hear about that?
I know it by name. I'm not familiar with the details.
Oh, you should definitely go check it out, because it's essentially your experience. Like it's this. That was what was it? It was a military base. Again, it was near a military base, and it was in, I think, England in 1981 or something like that. And these orbs were moving through the surrounding woods and all that stuff, and there were sightings and this and that. And then finally, it came to one night where you had a radio guy that communicated to deeper into like the command center or something, that one of the orbs had arrived at the front gate of the base. It was there at the front gate. So, I mean, you should take a listen to it, because it's very interesting that you had this experience near a military base, and then it moved through the forest like it was explained in the Rendlesham Forest incident in like 1981. You should really look into that one.
I will. I'll check that out.
Yeah, that might.
Yeah, it was a very bizarre experience.
Okay, and that, you said that was 2010.
That was May of 2010.
May of 2010. All right, man. Well, thanks for the call. Hopefully, we gave you another little piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, I'll check that out. Like I said, I've been searching for years for answers on that without finding much. I wanted to say too, I tried to get through when you were having the show on shared dreams. I had an experience with a shared dream as well. I don't know if you want to hear about that now. No,
what we're going to do is we're going to have another one of those nights sometime soon. So make sure that you're listening, and I'll make sure that I get the word out there. So if it's a night that you're not going to be around, you could at least email me. So that'll be something. But let me know what you think. Email the show, especially after you watch a documentary or two about the Rendlesham Forest.
I will.
Okay.
Thanks, Frank.
Take care.
For taking the call.
See you later. There you go. Wowee. So much So much going on. All right, let's take one more call, then we'll go on a quick break, and we come back. I want to watch some of this media over here. 612, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Frank. This is Tom in Minneapolis.
Hey, what's going on, Tom? How you feeling?
Pretty good. So I've been watching your show since around 2016, dropped off, been watching it again. And I've seen things in the sky that kind of line up what I've been talking about.
Okay.
So I was at a buddy's house. He lives outside of the city, so you can actually see the stars. And I'm looking up, look at Orion, checking all the stars. And then there's one star that starts moving from east to west. I'm like, oh, it's probably a satellite. And it's moving from east to west at a regular clip, and it just dead stops. And then it shoots straight up 95 degrees, 90 degrees, and straight down again. This like yo-yo thing bouncing up and down, and then stopped again. Slowly moved from west to east and shot back to the west again, back and forth, back and forth. So I went inside to the guys, oh, this is going on. They're like, you're drunk. I'm like, well, yeah, but come on, look at this. And they saw the same thing too. It was doing that left to right, fast, slow, up and down, fast, slow. It was really strange.
Are you in any, are you in proximity to any kind of military installations like our last caller?
No. South of Minneapolis.
And how long ago was this? I forgot if you mentioned that.
About 8 years ago.
About 8 years ago. Okay, and it's the only time you saw this when you were out at night? Or I have to imagine after that incident, you're always looking at the sky.
Yeah, definitely. But that's the only time I saw something like that.
How did it conclude? So you saw the east to west, you saw the up and down. It's doing things that nothing that you've ever read about in school should be able to do up there. How did it all just start? Did it just blink out? Did it go somewhere off to get too far out of sight? Or how did this all wrap up?
It just stopped.
When you say,
and actually, I mean, the reason why I'm calling is because of the Tic Tac incident. I hadn't heard about that until like it was on your show the other day. It was the exact same thing. The left, right, up, down, strange.
And when you say it stopped, did it take its place among the stars and just become fixed, or you lost track of it? It's gone.
It just stopped. So we went inside.
Okay. Well, man, oh man, I never had any incidents like that. So it's always very interesting to hear it, especially when you're out and just chilling with people and you can actually share the experience. Another thing to question your sanity and see it for yourself, but when everybody else can see it, that always adds another layer.
Exactly.
All right, man. Well, thanks for the call. Thanks for sharing.
Take care.
All right, man. There you go. That's from Minnesota. All right, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Hey, Frank, you're one talented guy. You're very good. Very good.
No problem. Wow. Genius you are. Can we stop with that? I appreciate it. I don't like the stupid turkeys. All right. Let's just knock that stupid shit off, please. All right. I did. I said I was leaving. And then the following day, get that through your dumb heads. The following day, I turned around and I said that there's no chance in the world that I'm leaving my country. Thank you very much. All right? I'm not leaving anyway. You leave. This is my country. And I have every right, every single right within which to turn around, would we stop so we can. All right, 2 seconds, I'm going to end up blocking this idiot.
Pinky!
Had a friend, you looking for a message board? Go to quitefrankly.tv and enter the forum. Engage with official show topic threads or start your own thread. Get signed up. It's that easy. And it's not Reddit, so don't sweat it. For the forum and then so much more, it's quitefrankly.tv. Yeehaw.
Vladimir Putin has been holding the line since 2022. Only got about a month and 3/4 left to go. Just hold out a little longer. But this is stuff that you can't ignore. Zero hedge. Transfer of nukes to Ukraine would be tantamount to attack on Russia, says Medvedev. Days ago, the New York Times revealed that the U.S. and European officials have discussed a range of options they believe will deter Russia from taking more Ukrainian territory, including the possibility of providing Kiev with nuclear weapons. Quote, the U.S. and European officials are discussing deterrence as a possible security guarantee for Ukraine, such as stockpiling a conventional arsenal sufficient to strike a punishing blow if Russia violates a ceasefire, the report says. The article then stated, several officials even suggested that Mr. Biden could return nuclear weapons to Ukraine that were taken from it after the fall of the Soviet Union. Former Russian president and current deputy chairman of the Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev, has responded by pointing out that if the West actually went forward with transferring nukes to Ukraine, this would be seen as tantamount to attack on Russia. He explained that this is a key aspect of Russia's newly expanded nuclear doctrine. In a Telegram post on Tuesday, Medvedev specifically referred to the recent New York Times report and said, looks like my sad joke about crazy senile Biden, who is eager to go out with a bang and take a substantial part of humanity with him, is becoming dangerously real. Now, obviously, we all know that Biden is not eager for anything except some tapioca pudding and a fresh diaper. All right? But still, it's crazy. When you're talking about the prospect of thermonuclear exchange and then, of course, assassinations, you're really dealing with an animal at the end of their rope and at the end of their viable options. Most definitely are. So what do you think about this? Everything else? Give us a call. Hold on, here's something. Do you want to talk about free speech? I thought this was really, really funny. I don't know how anybody can watch this stuff on CNN. They just got these mad women constantly trying to have mic drop moment. That's all that the news is now. They bring in the saltiest women you could find, and they're like, have a mic drop moment. Put all the men around you in place. Just steamroll over them and show everybody how much of a bad bitch you are. That's the news now, on television at least. The rest of us can make fun of them, but this is their little stage play. I don't know who this is. CNN's Carrie Champion warns that free speech won't be as free under Trump. I don't know what that means, but take a listen.
X, and you said in some ways, always. I feel like X, I don't know if anyone is on it in any capacity. I don't know if you're on it. And you're the only one? You're on it? You all are on it? Okay.
Yeah, everybody except you. You virtue signaling there. Everybody left. We all left for Blue Sky, right? Oh, I'm the only idiot? Okay.
I've actually decided to take a rest of peace because it is not a peaceful place for me. And I know if, in fact, you don't agree with this current administration, most people can say that it's not a peaceful place. I would not...
Peaceful place. Where do you go for peace? You know, a peaceful place. What the hell does that even mean? It's accessed through an application on the phone that's in your back pocket. And you're only in there looking for something that you want. You get in, you get out, some piece of information, something you want to share, depending on if it's professional, if it's whatever. You know, there are people on there that use Twitter, X, whatever the hell it is, or any platform that don't know what the hell. I still use Tumblr. I don't see any of the crazy stuff, because I've tailored it for exactly what I want. I want history. I want did you knows, abstract shit and whatever, Sopranos blogs, whatever. But they always have to just signal that this bigger issue going on. Peace. This is a place where we should be having peace. And of course, where everything we say should be completely unquestioned.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was an actual bid made to take on MSNBC, but the fact that it just can't happen in real life.
I mean,
it just can't.
It's not
even
officially for sale.
Yeah, it's not officially for sale.
The last
it's not
time he
even realistic.
mused about maybe buying something,
it's
he
not
ended
even
up doing
realistic in real life. But I do believe that media, everyone sitting here at this table, if you don't agree, we are in for some tough. We're in for some tough years ahead. I do believe that we are not going to be able to be as safe or say what we want to. I don't think free speech is going to be as free.
Okay, steamroller lady. What she means is nobody believes us or likes us. They don't believe our polls. They don't care about our quivering lower lips and our eyes welling up with tears or our flailing hands that are slamming the desks. They don't care. Nothing we say comes to fruition. We're a bunch of yappy fucks. Big old bags of hot air. That's what she's talking about. You can do that. You can be totally safe. You've been safe the entire time. Now, listen, the more obscene you become, the more people don't like you, you're going to be mocked in public. You no longer work at a prestigious place. That's something we can't help. That's just the marketplace. We see what you put out there. We see the bad will that you package it up in. It's not being done in good faith. It's bad faith. We see how you operate. So, I mean, do you want to? I mean, I wouldn't be able to recognize this woman from anybody else. So I wouldn't. Oh, you're from CNN, right? You suck. You know. But anyway. Here's CNN panel then scolds Scott Jenkins for furrowing his eyebrows. They wonder why. Take a listen.
That there's still a litmus test of journalism that you have to pass. You can't come on TV and just make up things and say things. That happens on X. Please don't give me the eyebrow furrow as if you don't know what I'm talking about. It happens often on X. I can go and say the color is blue and I will be met with so many disrespectful remarks. No one's regulating the N-word. No one's regulating.
We need N-word regulation now. What's your N-word policy here? Can I see it? It's fucking children. Children can't do it anymore. That's why don't furrow your brow at me. I'm in control here. No, you're not. No, you're not. And you know something? You guys are so out of your minds. I tend to not believe anything you say. If you say that something is blue, I will have to investigate because you're all fucking liars. It's not just about political realities. You're trying to shape culture. You're trying to mold minds, and you're always compliance testing people. There's always some sort of an IQ/compliance test that's being run by these people. They want to make sure that they can train people like you train a dog.
The criticism, no one is regulating how people are treated.
How much government regulation of the First Amendment are you for?
Let me tell you something. If I came on here and I just started calling you all kind of names, do you think the bosses would let me continue to do that?
I mean, it happens to me occasionally. I don't know if you watch the show.
It doesn't happen to you, but it doesn't happen for me. And I know that I wouldn't be able to do that. There's a level of professionalism in what we do here.
So she's talking about a level of professionalism at CNN. Do you think that I would be able to come on air here and call you all types of names? Ad hominem is not illegal. And that is mostly what is going on Twitter. That food fight that is so far removed from reality, it's unreal. The left does it to the right. The right so-called is doing it to the left. It's just everybody's doing it. But see, she, of course, makes a very bad comparison, because it's not that when she goes on live on CNN and calls a guest a bad name, it's like a curtailment, and she's reprimanded. It's not a curtailment of her First Amendment. It's just a criteria of her employment. You're representing the company. It's just one of those things. It impacts your employment. I mean, so it's so crazy because, of course, they don't care when it's done the other way around. They don't care. And they're upset that they're not being believed anymore. Oh, man. You know who else has really screwed himself since we talked a lot about science tonight? Neil deGrasse Tyson. I can't believe how much I used to love listening to this guy talk. Always seemed a little pompous to me. But then again, I figured he knows so much, he almost is, he deserves to be a little pompous. I don't know what the hell that he's talking about sometimes, but it's very interesting. That's gone. Grace period is over. It's so bad. It's so bad right now. Now, listen to this 2-minute exchange between Bill Maher and Neil deGrasse Tyson on trusting the science. And it's one of those situations where good on Bill Maher for handling it well. Take a listen.
So that means we're incapable as a species of truly understanding risk. And this goes to like vaccines, okay? I don't want to like poke the bear here, but what I'm saying is,
the bear believes in vaccines, just being skeptical of all medical interventions, as everyone should.
well, except 99 out of 100 medical interventions, you're not saying I need a second opinion. If you have tuberculosis, you don't need a second opinion. If you have polyps in your colon,
it's not close to 99%.
It's easily 99%.
It is not.
If you break a femur, you don't get a second opinion on that.
I agree, but that's not most things.
Can you imagine comparing? I guess he's talking about vaccine hesitancy, especially with this last thing that we just went through. But again, you know, the networks, and I'm sure you've seen the compilations of everybody coming after Donald Trump and saying, making fun of him for saying that it had a fatality rate of less than 1%. And they're going on and on and on because they're still trying to tell people that like 5% of people are dying and it's all children and all the whatever. Blah, blah. And that's the whole thing. If you have tuberculosis versus the arm twisting and the coercion, the coast-to-coast coercion that was done with these treatments for something that is not tuberculosis, and that all along the way, thank God for people who are skeptical about this, especially if you start putting 2 and 2 together. They're lying about the severity. They're banning people from talking about alternative, cheaper, and effective treatments. Why is there so much censorship on the issue? Especially hopeful contributions to the mystery that we were all trying to figure out in the early goings of 2020. So if you think about all that stuff that has been put forward, and it was, again, in such bad faith, then I think that anything that is offered up afterwards should really be you should be skeptical of it. And then to go and take the most crazy thing and use an example of tuberculosis. I don't want a second opinion on tuberculosis. I'm sorry. COVID is not tuberculosis. Even if you got the feared Delta strain, wasn't tuberculosis.
Things that happen to people, lots of things that happen to people, and I'm thrilled that you don't have this happen in your life, but and I hope you never do. But trust me, most people at a certain point in their life will need a second opinion.
The second opinion, yes, but that's after you've been through 99 other. I'm trying to put credit back to doctors, where our life expectancy is 3 times what it was 150 years ago, and everyone before 150 years ago, but
lower than the rest
organic, and half of them died before they were 35. Yeah, science matters.
Of course it does.
But sometimes you don't sound that way. That's what worries me.
Well, actually, you're the guy. You're the guy who doesn't understand why the NBA team can't beat the Lakers. So I don't know. You're supposed to be the scientist, and you couldn't even.
What he means, the WNBA team. Why the WNBA team couldn't beat the Lakers.
Meant that. But and as far as medicine goes, I could talk to you this about all day. But again, we do have a party to get to. Wait, this is not your field. You're not a doctor.
No, but I'm a scientist. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's not a doctor.
No, hold on.
That's not a doctor.
I'm a scientist who knows probability and
when
statistics.
I get a goiter on Uranus, I'll call you.
Oh, Frederick Douglass is there. I didn't know that Donna Brazil is still making appearances on this show. Frederick Douglass's hair, but none of his brains. Yeah, it's just incredible, and I'm glad he said that, because anybody would sit there and twist themselves into pretzels trying to figure out how to do away with gender-specific sports, like Neil deGrasse Tyson did on that podcast, and got everybody all he got himself pissed off. I just can't believe what everybody is doing. It's just nutty. It's really crazy about what's going on out there, and I'm just happy that there's less and less ways for this to be the only take that you can access. Good. Let's take a call. 917, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, I just have to say your Frederick Douglass comment was absolutely amazing.
Oh, thank you.
That was amazing. I love it, and I love the show. And
there you are, Bonnie.
Oh, you remembered me. Very good.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I do make some contact saves over here, but either way, I'm glad you're enjoying yourself tonight. Is that the only thing you wanted to call up about?
Yes, I heard that remark, and I couldn't stop laughing. I said, I got to call him and just tell him my daughter was hysterical and wish you a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy thanks. How do you prepare? Are you cooking a turkey, or are you hosting? Are you going to somebody else's place? What do you do?
My daughter's doing the cooking this year.
Okay. Is she a turkey kind of girl, or does she go like ham or something?
No, we're definitely traditionalist turkey with gravy and stuffing. And
so she bakes it?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. We've had both, though, but we like to bake better.
You know, maybe one day I'll give it a shot. I just feel like every baked turkey I've ever eaten at a family Thanksgiving has been dry, and I can't stand it. It always made me feel like I hated turkey. But then I ate turkeys that were well cooked. I said, "Oh, this is good."
The trick is an organic fresh turkey. That's the trick.
Oh, good. I got one of those. What, you guys know the farmer?
No, we get it at one of the local butchers here.
Okay.
So
there you have it.
But like I said, I enjoy the show. I'm glad things are going well with you and your family, and for the show itself. And again, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Bonnie, and happy Thanksgiving. I hope we talk sometime before Christmas, and into the new year we go together.
There you go, and it's going to be a great one.
Yes, it is. I'm so excited. Thank you, Bonnie. All right. All righty. Let's see. 201, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Frank. Yo, brother, it's great to talk to you, man. I actually have a couple of UFO stories if you're interested.
You do? Who is this?
This is John.
John?
Yes.
Okay. So have you called into the show before?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, it's great to hear from you. Are you on speakerphone right now?
Yes, let me take it off.
Yeah, take it off. And let give me your best one.
Okay. So there's an original one my mom brought our attention to when I was a little kid. We're at the dinner table, and she got a call, and she hung up the phone, and she went and got her binoculars out of the closet, and she went outside. We're sitting around the dinner table. She went out there, and she came back in, and she was like, "Hey, you guys, come out right quick." It was dawn. The sun was setting, so the sky was still lit, but the sun was down over the horizon. She let us look through these binoculars, and what we saw was this diamond-shaped object in the sky, and it was rotating. It was sitting still. It was not moving, but it was rotating. And how we knew it was rotating is because the lights on it were kept switching. You know, in this pattern where you realize, this thing is like, it's a diamond rotating in the sky. It was crazy.
So
but
from underneath, what are you talking about here? Are we talking a diamond shape? Was it triangular? Was it circular? And obviously,
It was like two pyramids connected at the base, so it was diamond shaped like that. You know, just
And
diamond shaped.
how far away were you from it? How many miles do you think?
I would say it was probably about 2 or 3 miles from us, sitting in the sky.
And nothing was audible to you, and you can tell clearly this was not a helicopter. It was nothing like that. There's no traditional propellers or whatever the hell.
No.
It was on its own.
No. And it kept switching. The lights on it switched from red to blue to green, red to blue to green, red to blue to green. So that's how you could tell it was rotating. It was sitting and then turning, like a top would,
Yeah. Yeah. And how old were you then?
I think I was probably about 13 years old. And my mom said to us, she was like, I can't explain to you what this is that we're looking at, but I just wanted you guys to see for yourself. So she never put it out of her mind that this could be
who called her
something from out of the world or from here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but who called her? I mean, I just think about that. The
She
setting.
never told me that. She never told me. Yeah, I should have asked her. She passed away 2 years ago.
I mean,
I should have asked.
I'm so sorry to hear about that, but that is that's something right there. I'm just thinking about the setting. You're around the dinner table, and of course, I still remember those times. You're down. Nobody has cell phones, so if the phone rings, it's either, especially if we were eating with my grandparents, it was either don't answer the phone, or the only one that gets up to answer the phone is my grandfather. And when he's on the phone, everybody be quiet. And it was usually just some sort of a telemarketer. As soon as he would hear their voice, he would just slam the phone on him. But for your mother, I'm putting myself in a position where you are, where your mother goes and grabs the phone and then retrieves binoculars and goes outside and then asks you, who the hell tipped her off that there's a UFO in the air?
Yeah.
And I would have loved to know
It
that.
must have been. I can only imagine it was someone in our immediate area that was going, "Oh, yo, look at this! Go outside and look!"
Wow.
But I have a second one if you're interested.
Well, I mean, I'm almost done here tonight, so I would love to.
Okay.
We're going to do more on this soon, and I'm actually going to be making a new thread too, so we can work off of some more threads in the new year. There's some good stuff coming up, but please keep that one keep that one on ice, and also in the meantime, think about who could have been the one to tip your mom off, and maybe make some calls. You should investigate on that.
I wish I could. I wish I knew someone who would have that info.
That was.
You know what? Oh my God! I think I know maybe someone. Okay, I'll check it. I'll do a little investigating and get back to you, bro.
You got it, man. Man, that's a major piece of a memory that you got to recover somehow.
You're right.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Man, I love you guys. Peace to your family. I love you guys.
Thank you.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you too, brother. Be well.
Bye now.
Take care. Okay. Let's take one more from Chicago. The Shredder.
Yo, what's up, Frank?
What's up, bro?
How we doing?
It's been a long time. I hope you're well.
Not much, man. I'm good, dude. Yeah, I know.
Everybody, hold on, Shredder. Everybody at home, the Shredder right now on the air. He is the guy from the Twilight Zone opening for Quite Frankly. Now take off your pants and jacket. That's Shredder over here.
Yeah, that was a while ago. That was like the first year Trump ran, I think, when I made that.
It's a long time ago, but I cherish that
gotta
opening.
do an updated one.
You must.
Yeah, I just want to make fun of Neil deGrasse Tyson real quick. I know you're about to get off, but he's such a chode. And I used to think he was cool too a long time ago. We all watched The Cosmos. But what I really hate it's a science. Trust the science. It's an orthodoxy. It's absolute. There's no scientific method. There's no constantly trying to find new truth. It's you accept it all, or you simply don't believe in science, which is retarded. And so it's just I don't accept the paradigm, of what you're putting forth here. It's not black or white. It's so arrogant. I think more people are just kind of rolling their eyes at all this stuff.
I know.
At this point,
I know because it comes down to something else there too. When you're so mainstream, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, you become some sort of like a novelty act. When you're so mainstream, to talk to someone like Ashton Forbes, or to look into what Ashton Forbes looks into, not even just like the footage that supposedly, allegedly shows MH370, just blipping out. But there's so many other incidents of unexplained technology that is obviously being kept from the public, that people like him always take these ridiculous stances about, it's not there, and all the probabilities why something is or isn't there. I can't take it anymore. It's like, it used to be one of those places where you go to have your mind stimulated and to just think about what is possible. And people like Neil deGrasse Tyson are usually the ones that come out to tell you that something is not possible these days, and to keep your expectations lower, and to do away with all of your any kind of belief system that is not quantifiable with any kind of earthly gadget. You can't be it can't be measured by any kind of gizmo. I don't like that anymore, and it's a buzzkill. And you could say, well, listen, telling you lies just so your buzz can be maintained is not going to help anybody. But it's not that. It's like there's curiosities like killed in the cradle these days. It's not about, okay, you presented a faulty theory about something and it got rightfully put in its place. I feel like there's no curiosity with these people anymore, and it's all just a damn act.
Yeah, it's all figured out. They got it all figured out, Frank. They're on the top. They're the scientists. They're the educators. It's all done. They have it all figured out. Stop asking questions, and you don't believe in science if you question any of it.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I'm thanking you.
All right, man, I'll let you go.
Well, hey, listen, I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. Keep me up to date with your music and everything else, and I'd love to get another intro from you in the new year.
100%, man. I will work on it.
Okay.
All right.
Take care.
Good one.
Bye. Yeah, you know what? Here's another little one. 3 minutes. Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Maher. This is where the Lakers and the gender and all that stuff comes up. Listen.
Scientific American. The magazine. I remember when it was around when I was
grew up with it. Yeah.
Grew up with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, their editor had to quit. You saw this.
Yeah, I heard about it because she expressed some opinions. Right. Yeah.
Okay, sure, but it sure didn't sound scientific. It didn't sound like the person I would want to be running Scientific American.
Okay.
It was a rant on Twitter. Okay, I could read it to you. It's really ugly. I apologize to younger voters that my Gen X is so full of fucking fascists. Okay, I'm not.
Okay, I'm not a gasket right there.
I'm not for.
All right. Yeah.
I'm not for canceling anybody on either side.
Yeah.
So But here's what I think is the scandal.
What?
This is in Scientific American.
Yeah.
Less than a year ago. Inequity between male and female athletes is the result not of inherent biological differences between the sexes, but of biases in how they are treated in sports. That's nuts. And it sure ain't scientific, and it's in Scientific American.
Now, I'm sure at this point, Neil deGrasse Tyson is hoping that the next clip that is pulled up for all the audience to laugh at is Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about how men and women's sports should go the way of the dodo bird, and that everybody should be extensively biochemically checked to make sure that people are always just running track against those who have similar biochemical markers inside of them, just so that boys can, a boy can run with the girl if he has low testosterone that mimics more of female, whatever. It's just incredible. But they keep going.
And that's why the Democrats lost the election. It's true.
Bill, every 20 minutes on your platform, you come up with another reason why the Democrats lost. You already have the answer. They lost the election. So anything you say is why they did it.
First of all, you don't watch this show, so you don't know that. I know you don't, and it's okay. But you talk as if you do, and you fucking don't.
And not only that, but when you suffer a loss like this, it is not also you can overcorrect and blame everything, but after you get over the initial shock, and you're no longer bargaining and all that stuff, and you start to accept what you're living in, maybe at that point, a lot of people can actually assess themselves more honestly. I mean, there's got to be a reason why Walmart and so many other big corporate offices are doing away with their so-called DEI criteria for, hiring or anything. I heard that some big organizations have even started distancing themselves from certain types of, training, that they have dropped any kind of reference to things like Latinx, Lakleenex, and all the other ridiculous made-up pronouns and stuff. I think everybody's starting to assess that it was all the little things. Target and the gay month for kids, trans clothing for 6-year-olds all throughout the month of June. I think everybody's starting to realize that this was a very big loss. It couldn't have all been about the border, even though that was a big part. It was also tiny little cuts as well, and perhaps cuts that weren't so tiny. People can't stand what we're living around. And the chuckling assholes like Neil deGrasse Tyson that likes to minimize everything. Oh, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. No, it is. It is chuckly.
That's okay. Just don't bullshit me. That's the one thing people can't ever do on this show is bullshit me. And that's fine. But I don't say that. I have very good reasons. But engage with the idea here. What I'm asking is, Scientific American is saying basically that the reason why an WNBA team can't beat the Lakers is because of societal bias.
What you're saying is not Scientific American says that. An editor for Scientific American says that, who no longer has the job. So don't indict a 170-year-old magazine because somebody...
Okay, this is called Scientific American, and they're printing something
because someone enters the cesspool that is social media and then participates in that exchange. So
why can't you
let's talk about science.
Why can't you just say this is not scientific and Scientific American?
He can't do it. Can't do it because he has even crazier ideas on how boys and girls in high school sports should compete against each other so we can do away with systemic societal factors that separate one side from the other and create blah, blah, blah. I mean, what's he going to do? He's a nut. Now he's covering it all up with his chuckly antics, just chuckling along. But, it's one person and she doesn't have her job anymore. Well, I mean, it was printed. You have to go through a lot of people to be able to get that to go to print. So somebody was okay with it, more than just the author.
You should do better.
Well, does she still have her job?
No, not because of this. I said the scandal is not her tweet. The scandal,
because that was like a year ago. Was it? Which one was a year ago?
I think a year ago, women still couldn't beat men in basketball or any other sport. And it wasn't because of society. You don't see a problem.
By the way, long-distance swimming, women might actually have the advantage. You can look into that. Yeah.
Maybe long-distance swimming, yes. Okay.
Yeah. I've looked into it. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to file you under part of the problem.
There you go. Hey. Good on him. Part of the problem indeed. Just there's always a smart little quip. Always it's just ridiculous. How pathetic. How pathetic, huh? New York Times and Bloomberg buries Rutgers study showing that DEI makes people hostile. Imagine that. Well, listen, I'm way over. Maybe we'll talk about this some other time, perhaps tomorrow in the opening or after we talk to our guests. And yeah, that's all for tonight. No thanks, Joe says they're all pissed off, interchangeable, narcissistic, watching all they love disappear. Yes. I don't even think that they really love anything, to be honest. I don't think they love anything. But the attention and the status. For example, we were listening to that guy scream, the CEO of Axios. We were watching it with Dilly for a little bit. And what did he go to? Your Twitter, your blue checks, and your 300 words or 300 characters. That meant everything to them. There was a black market for those check marks. There was a black market for those check marks. People on the inside were selling those check marks for $10,000 to $15,000. It was very prestigious. That was coveted. That's why when the first thing that Elon did when he bought it and he created Twitter Blue or the Premium, whatever the hell it was, and everybody got a blue check mark, they hated it. That was their I'm verified on Twitter. No, you're not, bitch. Now we don't know who's verified. So I mean, that's just, they hated it, and they use it as if it's silly. No, it wasn't silly to you. It was one of your favorite toys at one point. So there's that. Psyop72 says Rubio and some of the others are deep state psyops to outlast Trump. Comply for 4 years and then regain power while doing damage control. Next 4 years, don't have the scoop. Don't have the scoop you and Dilly have, though. Oh, I don't have a scoop. And Dilly told you exactly why he's not, even though he doesn't, I can't imagine he likes Rubio. I can't imagine he said why he believes Rubio is really not that much of an issue, because working at the post he's working in is going to be, he has to go out there and achieve an objective that Donald Trump wants, or he's gone. And I mean, we've seen secretaries of state under Donald Trump go quick. Rex Tillerson, what did he last? A year? Now, Rubio, that's something else. Who knows? I don't like him. I don't like the Surgeon General bitch. Don't like her at all. You can't make me get excited over Pam Bondi versus someone like a Matt Gaetz. But then again, what do we know? There has to have been major game planning going on. And if there isn't, then we're going to know if it all just starts falling apart at the seams. But from what I have been able to pick up with you guys in tow last night and a little bit afterwards, a little bonus afterwards, this could also be a very pleasant surprise in many ways. In all ways, no. It's impossible for us to be pleasantly surprised on every front, especially in 4 years when you're pushing back against 140 years of bullshit or whatever the hell it is. But hey, we are where we are. And it's time to just keep marching. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Thank you so much. John Volt says, Frank, show the Door Brothers latest XAI video, please. What's the Door Brothers? I don't know what that is. But thank you so much, gays. I mean, guys. Thanks, gays. And also thank you to all of the heteros out there as well. I'm thankful for every last one of you in this audience, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Gay and hetero alike. Goodbye.
I'll catch you on the flip side.